Hello Booktube and welcome to my bookshelves. So this will be my February wrap-up. I hope everyone is warm and safe after the snow this week. We got snowed in, so I had to take a day off work yesterday, which is an absolute shame. We got off quite lightly. I'm in Hampshire and I think we got off quite lightly compared to other areas, so I hope you're all warm and safe and enjoying your reading. So what have I read in February? So if you remember, in my January wrap-up I read P.G. Wodehouse, The Pot Hunters and Other Stories. These were the first 3 P.G. Wodehouse books. So in February I read the next omnibus. This is The Gold Bat and Other School Stories. Again, this is 3 books in one. It's not very thick, so quite thin books. And these are the next 3 of his school series. The Gold Bat, The Head of K's and The White Feather. So the first one in this series is The Gold Bat. And again, this is set at a private school and it follows the students as they get up to all sorts of trouble, sort of smoking where they're not supposed to, trashing each other's dormitory rooms, and one storyline includes the tarring and feathering of a statue. The gold bat of the title is a gold bat is a sporting trophy for the best cricketer of the year, and interspersed with this are games of cricket and rugby. Now, in all of these early books, the game of rugby is referred to as football. So when did football become rugby and association football become football? Because in all of these early books they talk about playing football and rugby is never mentioned once, and he goes into quite detail in the actual games. So when did football become rugby and why? So The Gold Bat is a better plotted book, and there are multiple storylines. Even in such a short book, I think it's only sort of 200 pages. So even in a short book there are like 3 strands to the storyline which are woven together towards the end, which is something you sort of expect from his later sort of Blandings, Jeeves books. But yeah, a very enjoyable read. The next one is called The Head of K's, and this follows a couple of students who are given the job as the head boy of one of the houses, K's, which is a troubled house with lots of sort of unruly students. Again, this is set at the same boarding school and it follows heavily the sports teams, with cricket and rugby getting a good mention in this book. But there is a decent plot behind this one. It's not just a series of adventures that the boys have. This has a good solid plot sort of underneath the sporting achievements. And the third one in this volume is called The White Feather, and again set at the same private boarding school. And you can tell that P.G. Wodehouse is really finding his form in plotting his novels in this. And this one follows a boy who witnesses a fight with a rival school and chickens out and runs away. And so he becomes ostracised within the school. So he decides to take up boxing, and he gets private lessons in the town and is determined to fight, to box for his school, and maybe that way he'll be accepted back in. So this book, The White Feather, is definitely an improvement on the earlier books, and although it's set in the same school and follows sports quite heavily, in this one it's boxing, there is a really good plot behind this one, and the one that And the thing that makes this one stand out from the others is the main character of Sheen, who is probably his first real starring character of the books. So this was published in 1907, and yeah, he's really finding his stride, and it wouldn't be many more years before the first Blandings novels and the first Jeeves novels are written. The next book I read was actually some research. As you know, if you've watched my videos, I am starting rehearsals for a play of Agatha Christie's A Murder is Announced. So before we started rehearsals, I read A Murder is Announced. So this is the original novel. This is a Miss Marple book. And the plot of this is a newspaper advertisement in the local paper of the village. Says that a murder will take place at 6:30 on such and such a date at this house. Obviously everyone in the village reads it and they all gather thinking it's some sort of game, and at 6:30 the lights go out and somebody is killed. This is the play version. Just drop the other book. This is the play version of A Murder is Announced, adapted by Leslie Darbon. It's the same plot as the novel. Obviously there's a few characters missing because there's lots of characters in the original novel and you wouldn't fit them all on stage. So he sort of streamlined the characters. Obviously it's all set in one room. So he's changed some bits, but essentially the plot is the same as the novel. Next up, I took part in Thrillerathon, which was hosted by Harriet Rosie. This was a 1-week read-along, and you had to read thrillers, obviously. And the one I picked was Dark Matter by Blake Crouch. Now this has had lots of good reviews on Booktube, and I was looking forward to getting into this, hoping it would meet my expectations, and it did. This book is tremendous. So the story, and I will try not to give away too much of the plot if you haven't read it, I'll try not to spoil it too much, but the premise of the book is a normal family, husband, wife, teenage son, having a normal life, and then one evening the husband goes out for a meeting, and on his way back he is kidnapped, and the kidnapper injects him with some sort of drug, and he wakes up in a different reality. So everyone there knows him, but he doesn't know who they are, and his wife and child aren't the same, and things have altered in his reality. And what happens from there is a fast-paced, action-packed thriller of a novel, and it really is a page-turner. I just kept on reading it, and yeah, absolutely wonderfully. If you haven't read this and you like thrillers, this is a must-read. I gave this to my wife to read after I'd finished it. As soon as I finished it, I chucked it over and said, right, this is your next book. She read it, absolutely loved it. 5 stars from both of us. Dark Matter. And the final book that I finished in February is If We Were Villains by M.L. Rio. Now this caught my attention. This follows a group of theatre students as they are studying Shakespeare. So that caught my attention immediately. And we follow this group of students through rehearsals and lessons and putting on a play, and then tragedy strikes and one of the students dies. Was it murder? Was it an accident? Was it suicide? The second half of the book sort of follows what happens with the investigation and within the group. I think there's 6 or 7 students, and so what happens to that tight-knit group of students as they come to terms with what happened. So this book is superbly written. The characters are very, very lifelike, and you really do get to know them and feel for them as they go through their training and their studies. I don't think you have to be a fan of Shakespeare to read this book, although it helps because there is a lot of Shakespeare references in this book. A lot of the characters, they quote Shakespeare all the time, just in normal conversation. They'll suddenly drop in a line from Shakespeare. There's whole chapters where they're performing. There's one where they're doing Macbeth on the beach at Halloween. There's Julius Caesar they're doing King Lear, Romeo and Juliet. So there's lots of Shakespeare references in this, but you don't have to have a knowledge of Shakespeare to enjoy this book, because this is really following the students as they go through a personal tragedy. So I would definitely recommend this, and I love this cover. It's a sort of a soft cover, but it's got black pages, and I just love this edition. Yeah, very enjoyable. So that was my February reading. So what did you read in February? Have you read any of the books that I've just shown you? Let me know in the comments down below, and I will see you all in my next video. Thank you for watching.